You spelled my name right, so thank you very much. I know all those A's, they throw people off.
So thank you everyone who are here, and there are people who are, thanks Linda, thanks Victor, there are others who have signed up, so we will go ahead and get started. This will also be on, we are also recording it, so eventually people will be able to all see it on the downtown Facebook page, most likely the library Facebook page, and we would be sharing it on YouTube too, later on. So these interviews, normally we do, the Downtown Merchants Association in Woodbridge normally does a lot of meet the businesses interviews. This one is a shade different. The Woodbridge Library and the Downtown Merchants Association, we have collaborated, and we want to celebrate Woodbridge Downtown, so a celebrity that we are interviewing. I'm also joined by April at the library. April, would you want to share, like, where can people find you, or things like that, and then we will go over to Frank and then start the thing.
Sure, thank you. I'm April from the Woodbridge Public Library. I'm at the main library, which is at George Frederick Plaza, across from the high school. We also have 3 other branches in Island, Colonia, and Fords. All of our branches and the main library are currently open Monday through Fridays. The main library is 11 to 10 to 8 on Monday through Thursday, and the branches are 11 to 7. And on Fridays, the hours are a little different, but you can always check us out on woodbridgelibrary.org. We also have a calendar of events there. We have some really cool upcoming things. We have a ghost hunter going to be talking in a couple of weeks, so you can register for that. We have adult crafts, children's crafts, teens crafts, tweens crafts, crafts for everybody. And it's a really exciting time at the library. And I just want to mention that we also have some research databases, some that are specific to businesses. So if you're a business owner or interested in developing a business, we have business-to-business directories that are available online, as well as the Small Business Reference Center. And of course, at our main library, we have a local history collection, which is by appointment. But if you're interested in Woodbridge history in the downtown, you can certainly take a look at that, and family histories. We've got a lot of great materials, and I just want to say thank you for letting us be here, and I can't wait to hear about the paintings and the murals.
Good, thank you. And I think I have managed to get Facebook working, and we would be live in a few minutes or seconds over there. So I will stop the screen share over here. We will get back to it. When we start talking about the murals, and so we have, let's go to the let me go back to the gallery view. So Frank, thank you for agreeing to come over. I have pestered you enough, I think. This let's start the conversation. We know that, like, you are an artist who does not only murals, but you are a photographer. You have a lot of things that you do, sign painter, and you have a unique photo sculpture thing also that not many people do. You have had awards from not only in the US, but also in the UK. You have traveled the world, gone places, and even had a little interesting project at the Berlin Wall when it was still there. That was the graffiti mural part of it, was an interesting thing in your sort of all the feathers that you have on your cap. So tell us a bit about yourself, how you look at yourself as an artist, and also a bit of what the journey where you decided that this would be the thing that you would do in your life. So please go ahead and share that with us.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is always fun and interesting to see who appreciates and looks at my artwork and likes to talk about it. So I'm very pleased and flattered to be asked to do this. And so you asked me when I started as an artist. I actually wanted to be an artist since I was 5 years old. And I can boil it down to one class day. I went to a Catholic school, but in kindergarten we had a teacher. And I went to Catholic school for a few years, and we didn't have art really for those few years. But kindergarten we had art, and the teacher's one lesson was she taught us how to draw an apple, just a red apple. And she showed us, you start from the stem, make a line for the contour, and then you keep going around like that, make another line next to that. Anyway, make a long story short, I was the only one in the classroom who did it correctly, and it really came out great, just like how she described it. And I was the only one that did it right. And so she held up my apple, made a big deal about it, and to me, it was so easy. It was a no-brainer. I just did what she said, and it came out great. So that was the first little taste of, I don't want to say adulation, but of appreciation of doing something nice, something correctly, something artistic. So from that day on, I said, you know what? That was easy, and I'm getting all this attention. I think I'm going to keep doing this. So that's really how I started to be an artist from that one day.
Excellent. So fast forward, like, what was the, like, I'm sure while you were growing up and were in school, you had some, you painted, or you had some photography or whatever you had shared. But what was the process which got you to decide on the portfolio of, so to speak, of the media that you would be using? A lot of the artists just focus on one thing. You decided to not be defined by just one medium. So talk to us a bit about that process which went on.
Well, growing up, and by the way, I'm from Long Branch, New Jersey. I grew up 1 block from the ocean, really nice place to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were a middle-class family, and my parents really were Italian immigrants. They didn't really go to museums or anything, and I was oblivious of all that. But my father really believed in education, and scraped up this little bit of money that he had. He was a tailor, and he bought me the Encyclopedia Britannica in the early 50s. I was just maybe 5 or 6 years old. And he brought home this enormous set of books. Each book was about 2 or 3 inches thick. It weighed a ton. It even came with its own bookcase.
Mm-hmm.
And it was expensive. I think it was $500. You know, that you could buy a car for that much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so of course it was way over my head. But as I grew up, I started looking at it and reading little bits and pieces, looking at the pictures. And it was sort of like an education all by itself. And fast forward, 25 years, I ended up pretty much reading the entire Encyclopedia Britannica because I was interested in everything. I've always been interested in everything because everything is fascinating to me. It's exciting to learn. So, and then my first mentor was actually Leonardo da Vinci, because every volume that I would open, he would be in. he's a painter and a sculptor and a botanist and an inventor and you name it. He had like 20 occupations, and I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. That's a great thing to be. You can do all that stuff, because I'm thinking, okay, you have one job and that's it. But as an artist, you can really grow and expand and experiment and learn. And so I used him as a model. I know it's a high bar,
but like you have to. That's one is there was this Randy Travis song which talks about heroes and friends, and he says that his heroes were the Superman and the like comic strip heroes, so that they will never disappoint him. So if you aim at something,
Right.
someone like that of that stature, then you can always, like, they act as a North Star, as a guiding light for you to you know where you are going.
Right. I mean, if you're going to try to emulate somebody, you might as well go up there. I mean, you can't get much higher than that. So, and plus he was Italian. I was proud of my heritage. He's really an amazing Italian fellow. So I thought, okay. So anyway, I went to college. I had art in college, and then most artists, they start as painters, drawing, painting, which is kind of the natural path. But and I did a lot of painting, but then I got interested in photography because it just was an easy way to capture an image rather than laboriously drawing all the time. So even from the beginning, I used to use photography as a drawing tool. And I like to travel, so I combined my love for travel and art and photography. So I would do all those three things, and then I would accumulate images from my travels. And I started even, I painted different images, early on. But then I got interested. When you travel, you're looking around and you see walls. You see buildings and walls, and you.
True.
And I got interested in what people do onto the walls. Graffiti, messages, propaganda, slogans, cartoons, you name it, posters, advertisements. So I started photographing these things, and I'm very handy with my hands. I like to make things. I'm very physical. So I started, when I was painting, I started using a mixed media, found objects onto my paintings, and they ended up being more like sculptures, because they're very three-dimensional. And so as I traveled, I would accumulate images, and then I started making these. I would actually fabricate my photographs. I would select photographs that I liked, and I would literally make them three-dimensional, sometimes life-size, 3 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. And then I would simulate the graffiti, the writing, the posters. Sometimes I would actually paint everything in dry fresco. Again, Da Vinci with the frescoes.
Right.
So I painted with fresco, which is painting into dry plaster or wet plaster. But for what I was doing, dry plaster. So eventually these paintings started to look like architecture. And I actually wanted to be an architect. But because I had kind of not the greatest guidance in school, I thought being an architect would be way too difficult, and I don't think I could handle it because I wasn't that good in math. And I thought, gee, if I design a building and it collapses and people are in there and they'll die, and I'll feel really bad and I'll go to jail. So that's how naive I was. I didn't realize that the engineer does that. The architect designs it. So I didn't go into architecture. And I originally also, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I thought being a Walt Disney cartoonist was like the best thing in the world. But then I saw a documentary of cartoonists at work, and it looked so boring because they have to do the same thing over and over.
Correct.
You know what? That doesn't look very interesting. I don't think I want to do that. So, so as I went along, as I aged and learned, I would try new mediums because I like to experiment. I like to challenge myself. So I would started as a painter, then I got into photography. I learned darkroom techniques and so forth. And then
and those days it was black and white, right? Like you,
yeah,
I'm sure you were working with the black and white.
Of course. And I just did it because I had to. I didn't really like being in the darkroom because I like to travel. I like to be out there in the world. I didn't like being stuck in a little dark room for hours and hours and days. It just was too claustrophobic. So I did a little bit of printing, but not much. So anyway, so now I'm adding to my list of, skills, which I was very, very excited and proud and interested in doing, painter, photographer, sculptor. Then, I went to graduate school in the early 70s. And just as I graduated, it was the first oil embargo, if you remember that. There were no jobs, no teaching jobs. So I had to figure out how to make some money. And I came across a friend who was painting a sign, and he was telling me he was making all this money painting signs. So I said, okay, I have brushes, I have paint, I have a steady hand. I'll paint signs. So I went to my studio. I printed up a little business card, Frank Signs, and I started giving them out. Even before I actually knew how to paint signs.
Signs, okay.
And sure enough, like within a day or two, I got calls. And so I had to like hurry up and learn how to be a sign painter. So, but it ended up that I did it for years and years, and I actually made lots of money. Not lots, but I made, enough money.
Decent money. And when you say signs, like were they like billboard size, or they were?
I started on paper. Then I went to like a side of a truck, or cardboard, or plexiglass, or store real signs for stores, 10 feet, 20 feet. I got a little better and better. I got the proper brushes because I didn't know there was any difference in the brushes. I was using the wrong brushes. So I would learn as I went along, and I got better and better and better. And then I ended up painting 40-foot trailers and boats and.
Okay.
And then.
So all of these were like outdoors things, and then like what, like you hated being indoors, confined to the dark room and outdoors, which sort of is a nice segue, or it shows that like murals were something which you naturally flowed into, and you enjoyed that very much, I'm sure.
That's the next step. By sign painting, I would be painting on the side of a building. I'd paint the sign of a business, and the owner would say, hey, Frank, if it's a car business, a mechanic, he said, Frank, can you paint a car? Oh, yeah, sure. I'm an artist and a sign painter. I can do both. Oh, so I painted the car or whatever, logo or something. And then I realized, you know what? It's a lot more fun and interesting painting the cars and the logos than it is the lettering, because the lettering is very tedious and has to
right.
Which I could do, but it's just, it's not fun really. So then I started looking for mural jobs. I started seeing a lot of murals around. I thought, well, I can, I know how to paint big signs on walls. Why don't I paint murals? So I started getting some mural jobs. See, this is how one thing leads to another. So I'm adding to my little Da Vinci story, So now it's like 85. And so I'm now a painter, a photographer, sculptor, sign painter, and muralist. So anyway, and I, by the way, I do all these simultaneously too. I don't just do one thing like for 2 years and then do another. I'm actually doing all these things pretty much at the same time.
Same time.
Makes my life a little bit crazy and unpredictable, but it makes it interesting and exciting at the same time.
So where would you say was the first major mural, the project that you took on? Well, like we spoke about the Bukowski mural that you have, but even before you got to that, I'm sure that there were some which you did, and then one thing led to another.
Well, I really didn't start painting murals in earnest until 1996.
Okay.
And the following year, because I was in Jersey City at the time, the first mural was Hoboken. And so in New Jersey, I was one of the first artists to move to to Jersey City because there were a lot of empty buildings that were not very expensive. So I bought a really nice building. It was an old firehouse, actually, and it was very close to the PATH station. And it was because I was showing in New York quite a bit. But then there were a lot of artists moving to Jersey City because New York was too expensive. So Jersey City was sort of like a reasonable second place to be. So there was not much going on in Jersey City. So we formed an organization called Pro Arts. And basically and it's still going on. This was 1989. We formed Pro Arts. I was one of the founding members, and we would paint murals, we would open galleries, we would have exhibitions, that kind of thing. So I formed a group of 5 artists, and we wanted to paint a big mural in Jersey City because we found a big wall. It was 350 feet long and 60 feet high. It was a really ugly wall right in the middle of downtown, very close to the PATH station. And we proposed a big mural. It took us 3 years from beginning to end to do the project. It was at the time, it was the biggest mural in the United States. We didn't even really know that at the time, but people told us after we finished. And the budget was $225,000. We actually raised that much money. It's unbelievable now. I mean, in today's money, that's about $500,000, which I can't conceive raising $500,000 now. But we did it, and it took us 6 months to paint it. And I was the project manager. I learned a lot. It was very difficult controlling 10 artists.
Obviously.
Had their own ego, they were fighting with each other. I literally had to break fights up, and I had to do the payroll and buying the supplies and all the permits, and it's a lot of work, but I learned a lot. And then I moved to from Jersey City. I moved to Poughkeepsie, New York. My wife is a professor at Vassar College, and so it was more convenient for her to live in Poughkeepsie. So I moved up there. And I started painting murals in Poughkeepsie. Now I have about 8 murals in Poughkeepsie, also very big. Some of them are 70, 80, 120 feet long.
So that was something which, before we talk about the Woodbridge mural, you had, when we were speaking the other day, you told me something about like what appeals to you, like the sense of history, the time. It's almost like a time capsule that you have, that's something which sounded like, which was very, very interesting. Would you want to share that a bit?
Yes. So as time went on, I was getting mural jobs, and a lot of them were some of them were grants, some of them were private. Some of them were civic projects, and everyone seemed to want history. They wanted a historical subject matter in the mural, which was fine with me because I also like history. I think it's important to know what happened so we don't repeat the mistakes in the future, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so almost all my murals are based on historical facts of that particular area where the mural is. And that's the Jersey City mural. Actually, was all historical imagery. It was sort of like the greatest hits of Jersey City. It had a ferry boat because there were 80 ferries a day that went to New York from Jersey City. There was a huge locomotive train because the street where the mural was a locomotive line, and Statue of Liberty is in the mural. Life size. It was so big we could actually paint it life size. Anyway, so as years went by, almost I'd say 90% of my murals are all historical, history based. So so the New Jersey arts people saw my big Jersey City mural, and then when they were building the light rail in North Jersey from Bayonne to Hackensack, they announced these big, they had to build all these tracks and train stations. So and luckily President Clinton in the mid 90s came up with the $150 billion arts budget. And he made the law that any project, any structure that's built by federal government or state government or city had to have 1% of the budget for art, which is just a fantastic law. Everybody really liked it.
Right, definitely.
Not just the artists, because it was, you know, it was work for artists. It was,
artists, right.
You know, that's the thinking of Europeans. They have art everywhere. Americans need more art everywhere to make it more civilized. So anyway, they had, so the money was there, millions of dollars for artists to be part of the train stations on the light rail line. So I got two train stations, two in Bayonne, 45th Street and 54th Street. And so I designed the windscreens. They were etched glass. I didn't do the etching per se. I designed it, and then I had a company that does that, because it's a special skill. You know, you need all the equipment. So anyway, that was that, and then from there, that was mid '90s, and then about 10 years later, the Woodbridge project came up, and they sent me a notice. You know, if you want to submit, I submitted. It was actually, the original plan was to have two artists, one to do the mural and one to do the etched glass windscreens. Now, since I had all that experience,
you could ask, like, you put in a proposal for both. Okay.
I applied for the mural, which I could do, and also I did the etched glass, which I did already.
Right.
And so I was so pleased and excited and happy that I got both of them, both commissions. I was a little guilty at first. You know, I asked them, I asked the New Jersey Transit, I said, is it kosher that you gave
the both?
They said, well, yeah, because you got the highest points in both categories, so you got both. I said, okay, great. So anyway, that was really fun, exciting, and really, you know, I was really grateful to get both. I would have been happy to get one, but it's just terrific to get both. So, you know, that's why you have what you have there in Woodbridge, and, you know.
So let me share with the audience a bit of some of the photo. Like, I'm not sure whether everyone has been there. So I'm going over to sharing the, and the attendees viewers should be able to see my screen over which the opening screen that we had. Now I will go over I have a few photographs over here. So this is Frank. This is the like a pan of a few of the sections. So I think this is extreme left, closest to the staircase.
Right.
It goes. This is almost like the middle of it. And
no, this is no. This is that's the opposite other end.
That's the bookend. Like, that's the other end of it.
Yeah.
And here is another section of it.
Yeah, that's
so
the middle.
This is the middle of it, right? So if you look at this, the extreme right is the building with I think the tailor shop, and so this is the building, middle part of it, which has the Chinese restaurant, and this is the extreme right end. Now, a lot of these buildings, or most of these buildings, are somewhat like iconic buildings in the downtown. They have quite a bit of a history. They have been there for quite a while, not necessarily in the order, or there are some which are across the street, which have come in over here. I think I have missed out one of the sections, one building. The 73 Main Street is not in here. So, and let me go through some of them, and let us share, like it would be great if you could share with us. Obviously, there's there are the buildings and the subject in front of them. Then there's the backdrop of the trees and little details like over here to the extreme right, you have someone sitting under the tree, and so so there are the details of the bike and things like that, which you can also call out and talk about.
Yeah.
So
Can you see my cursor?
no,
No.
okay.
Okay. So you mentioned the man sitting on the bench there.
Right.
One of the construction workers, while I was painting, they were fixing some pipes or something, and there were 3 or 4 construction workers there, and they were totally interested in what I was doing, and I got into nice conversations with them. And then one of them joked, "Oh, why don't you paint me in there?" And I said, "Okay." So I painted him in there. If you look, it's a hard hat. He's wearing the bright day
Right.
and the hard hat. So I put him on the bench.
Okay.
But let me back up a little bit. Explain, why this mural looks like this.
So do you want me to go back to the any of the earlier thing, or?
No, you can stay here. Stay here.
Okay.
So yeah, when I moved to Poughkeepsie in 2002, I painted. It was kind of a rundown city, had seen better days, and there were a lot of buildings that were just ugly and full of graffiti. So I immediately, when I first moved up here, I had all that experience from that big Jersey City mural that I did. And I was so anxious and eager to paint some more murals. So I went around, photographed a bunch, maybe 24 buildings in Poughkeepsie that could have used a mural. I was trying to find work. I was trying to, improve the city because it was so depressing. So luckily there was a grant that was available, and I was selected for this grant. It was federal money, by the way, from Washington, D.C. It was local money. And the wall that I picked was right in the middle of town, and the wall was 130 feet long and 16 feet high. Pretty good sized mural, not anywhere as big as the Jersey City, but still pretty big. And the mural's still there today. It's 18 years old. It looks like I painted it yesterday because I always coat the murals with a protective coating so they don't fade and they are protected from graffiti and the weather. Anyway, so the idea of the mural in Poughkeepsie is historic storefronts that used to be downtown Poughkeepsie, but long gone, but people loved them. And, I would mention these stores to people, Poughkeepsians, and they would, it was a warm and fuzzy feeling. Oh, the good old days of Poughkeepsie when it was a really nice town. So I figured, okay, I can't snap my fingers and bring back Poughkeepsie, but I can paint it and make people feel good. So I did that. And everybody loved the mural. I mean, to this day, I've never heard one negative thing about this particular mural. In fact, there's an empty lot in front of the mural, and they never built anything there, just an empty lot that's been there for 20, 30 years. And now and I encouraged this idea. I said, you should make it into a park because the mural is a perfect backdrop for this big empty lot. People were trying to eat their lunch there. There were no benches, things like that. So make a long story short, almost 20 years later, now that empty lot is a park, and it's called Mural Square. So I feel like I had a little bit to do with that little success story. So anyway, when this Woodbridge mural opportunity came up, they said, we have this tunnel paint, what's your idea? So because of the success of the Poughkeepsie mural, we're using the storefronts. I thought, well, why don't I do the same thing? I can photograph and use some of the real buildings. I wanted to use the real buildings because I wanted it the mural to relate to reality. And I also wanted to make the Woodbridgians proud, that someone is celebrating their town,
Right.
Because I love architecture, because I wanted to be an architect, but I love architecture. So I'm always interested in different kinds of buildings. You got Art Deco, you have, Renaissance or whatever. So I walked up and down Main Street. I photographed the more interesting buildings, and I wanted to get a real variety of architecture. And I made a collage, a long horizontal collage. I presented it, and that's what they selected. So basically, it's the same idea that I did in Poughkeepsie. And and then, for example, this image here, that's just one of the churches. I like that big stained glass window. I also like the color of it. And then the bank next to it had a nice kind of Art Deco style.
It does, and this is a relatively, I think, a newer building than the church. This is from the 1920s.
Yeah, 1920s or 30. Yeah, I don't know that the church is hard to date that because
correct. And there has been it was there. What I understand is that there was a church, and then they built one again on the same spot. And so the Woodbridge, the bank, obviously the Woodbridge National Bank as a bank, like this building has gone through a lot of tenants, so to speak. Like as of now, there's a gun shop, and what I understand is the township is also buying this building, and let's see what happens to the building as we go forward.
And I also want to mention too, even this one too. So my sign painting skills came in handy with my murals, or else because not all artists can paint signs, and not all sign painters are artists. So luckily I could do both, because otherwise I would have to hire somebody
to do the lettering.
So I like to do everything myself. I don't like to have to hire a bunch of different people, because I'm very, very kind of individualistic and determined to conquer all my challenges on my own. So
before I since we talked about the sign, there was a question from one of Victor, who is attending. He asks, like, is there a place online where you have examples of your sign painting? I know your website has a lot of the architecture, the wall, the photo architecture, and the other things.
Well,
I don't remember the sign painting.
Almost.
Or do you do it at all as of now?
Pardon?
Do you, as of now, do you still paint signs, or
if
occasionally?
If a sign job comes up, I do it. Yeah, it's a skill that I'll have forever, and I don't see why I shouldn't. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, I used to, when I was talking about when I came out of graduate school, there were no teaching jobs around for years, not just for a year or two, like for many years. So all I could scrape up were these little, adjunct teaching jobs here and there, which didn't add up to much money, because adjuncts to this day are not paid very well. So, and when I saw my friend painting a sign and getting a lot of money for a little sign, and then I got into the sign painting, I just stopped teaching completely, because it was not worth my time. It would take, for a semester, I would make $500, after taxes. It's, even 20 years ago, that wasn't very much money. And with sign painting, I could paint a sign in 2 hours and make $500. And without breaking a sweat, without having to commute back and forth and dealing with students who didn't do their homework and, taking attendance and all that stuff. So, I got to the point I could make $1,000 in one day without even trying. So anyway, so I still paint signs when I have to, or when I am able to do that. But it's, and it like all these things overlap with each other, painting into sculpture, into photography, and I also do commercial photography jobs. I also curate. I've been curating shows for 40 years. I've curated almost 50 exhibitions in the U.S. and in Italy and other states. But so going back to the Woodbridge mural here. So Yeah, so I selected buildings that were very different from each other because I wanted a nice variety. And yeah, oh, there it is. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite buildings. I don't know, I don't even remember what it was. I think it was an office building.
It
But
still is a
I don't.
collection of offices inside. They rent it out, and
So yeah,
it has
and
the nice columns in front, and it has the view from the front is excellent over here. Um,
yeah, it's a
so
little different. It has a different style from everything else. It's kind of modern, but it has kind of some classical
mhm, mhm,
touches here.
mhm. Now this building, like the florist is still here in the downtown. The florist, they have moved across several buildings. I think when so similar to the this one, like this is the Middlesex Water Board building, like it was when it was built. I think this was built shortly after the Woodbridge National Bank building, and later on it became the First National Bank, or like this was also a bank building at some point.
Yeah, it looks
Um,
like. Yeah.
right, and the Chamber of Commerce was there. So now the Chamber of Commerce has moved from this location, and the Chamber of Commerce is inside where the current florist is. So, but when you painted it, like the florist was in this corner, and actually the backdrop that I have, it's pretty close to this building
Yes.
that we are seeing over here.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the little mums on sale parking, or the municipal parking at the rear. So was it like did you model it on like the lady who is putting up the planters on the pots on display? Was it someone who was working in the store at that time?
You
You
know,
don't
I don't
remember.
remember if it was
You
an
don't remember.
employee or a customer. I
Mm-hmm,
just wanted to put some figures in
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
people in the painting. That's all. I didn't think
Right.
it really
And
mattered.
this is also a pretty old building, and there
Yeah,
are other stores as of now. The front
yeah.
at the street level looks a bit different. The talk to us a bit about the signs over
Yeah.
here.
Okay, so now this building caught my eye because it looks very similar to my building in Jersey City.
Mm-hmm,
My building also had the kind of tooth-like edge, the gray and the white stones on the edges and the cornice, and it was the same color and everything. The only difference between my building and this is that my building had a big, giant 10 by 12-foot garage door opening to fit the fire trucks.
uh-huh,
And that was my studio. It was 1,500 square feet of studio, which was just perfect. I
uh-huh,
could put
uh-huh,
a car in there. I had room for a studio, and I had storage space. So it was really
uh-huh,
so. No, anyway, so yeah, that's why I added this building in. I liked it. It's a typical kind of late 1800s
mm-hmm.
city urban building. But the bottom I changed. I wanted to get some different kind of businesses, and I didn't really have a restaurant. So I thought, all right, why don't I make up that's artistic license. You could
Correct.
do whatever you want, basically.
Correct.
So I made it into an Italian restaurant, and I named it Francesco's, which is my name in Italian. So
Okay.
I mean, I have to put a name on there. I figure, all right, I'll put my own name. I like to include a little bits of me in all the murals. My wife, my cat, my daughter, different. Usually I'm peeking out from.
Right. And I think this is the one that you mentioned, right? Like
Yeah. So this really was a music store here, Melody Music. And then on the right-hand side, I made that up. I needed another different kind of store. And my father was a tailor, and I think he died actually the year that I was painting this. So I put his name. His name was Sam.
That's sweet. Mm-hmm. That's nice. Mm-hmm.
Tailor shop, and that's my mother waving out the window, and that was my cat, my tabby cat. And then my daughter, Lily, is the little girl with the balloon there. You know, it's just sort of little fun things that I include.
Right. Like,
You
which
know,
makes which
person,
makes it personal to you too. Like, right. So at that time, was there a barber shop? We have now a couple of barber shops on my main street. Did you have one at that time when you painted?
I'm sorry. Well, you know, I don't remember if that was a real.
Hmm.
I think it might have been a barber shop.
And the building, like there is something on the left towards the background. Like
Yeah,
obviously, it wasn't there. So is that something which you just wanted to
I
like
think that's me, and
introduce as a
I
balance
put
and
that into an artist studio. So you're peeking into an artist. I think that's.
right? Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's me back there.
Right. That's what I was suspecting.
Yeah,
So we still have a real estate agent on
yeah,
downtown,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have the tower.
I didn't think this building was all that attractive, but it just had a kind of an unusual and different shape and style,
Hmm. Hmm.
contrast, you know, from everything else. And then I don't remember if that was a real Chinese restaurant there or not.
There are a couple of Chinese restaurants still in town. One is almost like a hole in the wall, and then there's another one.
Mhm.
And here's a bit of a detail. So there you have it. Like we covered most of the mural,
All
and we
right.
have about 9 minutes or so that we had budgeted. So
Yeah.
let me go to the let us climb up virtually to the staircase up to the platform level, and I have this the position of the etchings are such that like it's a shade difficult to photograph them from the front, but I wanted to when people go up to the platform upper level, this is something which they come up through the staircase, and even if they so this is almost like a table of content. Like there's the north screen, the south screen, the center screen. It lays that out, has the date on it, and it talks about who exactly helped also you on the technical aspect of the
Oh,
actual etching.
well,
Um,
okay. Oh, sorry.
No, no,
Uh,
no.
okay.
So I have this. Let me show you the photographs that I have over here, and we will go back. We have the Parker Press. I put that in the presentation. These are the photographs that you had shared with me, which give people a nice overall view. Here's another photograph, and then there's this one. So take it away, Frank. Like how
Okay.
would you want
Right.
to share whatever the stories you have on this?
So, all right. So there are three windscreens,
Uh-huh.
and the only way you can put artwork on a train station windscreen is to etch the glass because you can't have anything opaque on the glass for safety reasons. We don't, you know,
Exactly.
don't want people
Exactly.
hiding behind the walls,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
scaring people and whatever. So the only way to get an image on a windscreen is to etch the glass. Now, I don't etch glass, but what I did was I researched the history of Woodbridge. I talked to the local historian, and he gave me some photographs that I worked from, and I found out I needed three
I'll take a
subjects
zip.
for three screens. So one was going to be the brick factory because that was a major thing, and
Mm-hmm.
the second one was Parker Press because
That's
Benjamin
also right.
was
Mm-hmm.
involved in that, and that was a great story. And then for the third one, I thought I would just do a collection of historic, beautiful architecture from Woodbridge and put them in the third one. So I felt like I was covering all the bases, so to speak. You know, some specific historical facts and also some current uh, contemporary images of the buildings that are there now that you can see now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I gave the designs to the etcher. The etcher was in the Bronx, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he did such a beautiful job. It's amazing how, how perfect he did them. And the detail is just incredible. And they did it the old fashioned way. This is before you could just pop something in a computer and it pops out, and then you stick it on the glass. And then these are sandblasted, by the way.
Okay. I was wondering, like,
Yeah,
what was etching? Not really the chemicals, and then there was.
No, it's not chemicals. All
and the fumes. It's sandblasted. Okay.
Yeah, sandblasted, and it's many layers.
Mm-hmm.
It just was an incredible amount of work, and the detail. And they did such a beautiful job. For example, for this brick building here, you see where the windows in the middle area is just clear glass.
Mm-hmm.
So that part would be the adhesive vinyl of the image that's printed on a computer from a drawing or a photo.
Mm-hmm.
So the part that you see that's clear is completely covered. So when the sand is blasted, that part is not etched. So then when you peel off the vinyl, it's still clear glass in it, and you can see the image there. And then there are other parts of that windscreen. There are at least maybe 4 or 5 different layers of sandblasting. They got so much depth. In fact, it's physically deeper in some areas than others, because the more you sandblast, the more of the glass is taken away.
It erodes,
so
right.
That's the deeper etched part of the glass. So yeah, they did a phenomenal job, and for an amazingly reasonable price too. I was so relieved, because whatever, the budgets are set, and whatever it costs me to do all this, whatever's left over is mine, so the less somebody else takes, the more I have for myself. So
right. So there you and as of today, there is some. We were talking about it. There has been some damage on the etching, and it is glass at the end of the day. So there is a. And what we also see is, if people today take a after this, when they watch this recording of this interview, if you go there, as of today, there are some damages on the murals. And as we were discussing this, and I took some photographs and sent it over to someone in NJ Transit itself, because there is water leakage and the dampness of the whole thing. So from my understanding, what I understand is the paint or has two enemies, right? Like, one is direct sunlight fades the painting, but at the same time, if there is enough of dampness and water, then the substrate sort of gets weakened, it falls off, and that in turn. So you
actually 3 enemies.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is people.
Obviously.
Like, for example, somebody shot, a bullet through one of those panels. And so in fact, in January and February, I was trying to find another etcher, because the original etcher of this project unfortunately passed away. So I was trying to find another etcher who could match the style, because doing just a little section is tricky, because it has to match up, and the style has to be the same. So I was in the process of finding another etcher, but then the COVID came, and it kind of the whole thing just evaporated. I didn't follow through.
And I'm sure that the emails that I sent to NJ Transit about the current condition, I'm hoping that when they are able to when they regroup or they have better, so I'm sure they will eventually work on that. So what Frank, what I would also like to do is I am sharing your website on the chat. If anyone in the in the audience and when I on Facebook Live too, I let go ahead over there and share your URL over there, your website URL. And so if people want to follow up and then know more about your work and art, I guess that's a good place to go to
Yes.
get current information.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to answer, there was one question about signs. I don't have a place where, I have a brochure of my signs, but, and on my website, if you go to the murals and public art page, almost all my murals have signage incorporated into the mural, so you could see my style that
over
way.
there. Okay, let me see if I can, bear with me for a minute, if I can go to.
Yeah, I see another question from Monica. Can I answer that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, am I working on any murals? Well, you know, it's funny. Oh, there it is, yes. Well, you're good at this, Shlomo. You know, it's I was just talking to a friend because, you know, during this COVID period, you know, everything shut down. But for some reason, somehow, this summer was the most active I've had in a long time with murals. I actually painted 6 or 7 murals this summer. And, you know, you'd think, oh, nobody has any money, nobody wants to go out or, you know, talk to anybody. But somehow I got all these calls for murals. I painted 7 murals this summer, which is 2 indoor and 5 outdoor murals. So yeah.
So we are past the hour. Let's. I have sort of held on to you quite a while. I think we might do a few more offline recordings, perhaps, of some of the interesting conversations about the Rome grant and the project and the Berlin Wall thing, so that people can we can have that offline. Need not get in. Sorry, go ahead. You wanted to.
I want to point, and speaking of murals and signs, if you look in the upper part of the page there, you see the drone. I actually right there, the drone video mural. I had because I have so many murals in Poughkeepsie. Yeah, you can go to it now, I guess. This is, oh good, yeah, this shows you the Poughkeepsie mural that I based the Woodbridge mural on. You see, these are storefronts that were in Poughkeepsie, and this is a video that I had made of 8 murals that I have in Poughkeepsie, and they're all kind of like flyby. And if you put the volume up, I made the soundtrack. I'm also a musician. I'm a percussionist, and I did a drumming soundtrack for this video. I don't know.
I think I'll have to. That's a bit technical. I don't want to mess up whatever we already have on this.
Anyway,
so
yeah.
incidentally,
and that's Mural Square, the park there. Park, yeah, Mural Square.
So Frank, the question from Monica that you answered, Monica is the director of the Woodbridge Library over here. So she is a great supporter of the downtown, does a lot with the business community over here.
See, this is another mural, and see, there's some sign lettering there.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Because the part on the left is paint, all paint. It looks like 4 buildings, but actually that's all paint.
All paint, right.
In fact, that's the biggest mural in Dutchess County.
Interesting.
Yeah, 75 feet long and 45 feet high. That was painted about 3 years ago.
So April, I have bought you brought you back into the panel over here. So, did you have any questions or any comments? And I think we can now, let me stop the share. So Frank, like it has really been an enjoyable thing. We appreciate the time that you have spent today sharing your story and walking us through the history or the backstory of the murals over here. April, you had any questions or comments, and or we will call it a wrap.
I just want to thank Frank for doing this, because I would have never noticed those small details, especially on the etchings. So thank you so much. And it's so cool how you have your daughter in there and your cat in there and you're in there and your wife. So that's
Why
awesome.
not? Why not? I have to paint people, so I'll paint somebody that I
Somebody
know.
you know.
If I knew you, April, I would have put you in the mural.
I wasn't there.
So maybe the next one that you do, Frank, we can all be there as part of the crowd somewhere in the background, peeping out from some of the windows over there. So
And I also really like that you talked about the influence of the encyclopedia.
Yeah, and you know, I still have them too. They're like part of my whole upbringing, really. You know?
Yeah, those are
really,
full sets are pretty
yeah,
pretty
they're.
heavy and
I
hard
could,
to move around.
when I was 7, I could barely hold one book. You know, they weighed about 5 pounds each. You know, they just were an amazing thing. You know, nobody uses encyclopedias now, but I tell you, it just was the whole world in that one little bookcase. The whole world.
Yes. Now we have the internet. Lucky us.
Well, that's the whole world too, I guess.
So thanks again. We will, and thanks everyone who has been here online today with us. You have diligently stayed on with us throughout the whole interview. Linda, thank you. Victor, thank you. We were live on Facebook, so I'm sure people will find us later on, ask questions. So if there are any questions, Frank, I will perhaps reach out to you, and if there are people who want to get connected or has anything which we will be in touch. If there is anything that you would.
Yeah, and where would I look? Under what? Under Chamber of Commerce or Woodbridge?
Woodbridge Downtown is where we were, and I will email you the links, all the links.
Okay,
don't worry about it. Like, and April and I will get together and talk about like the recording, how we will share that, and all of that.
Yeah, and one little thing, Shlomo, you took those nice photos of the damage of the mural. I hope you can, maybe talk to somebody or the New Jersey Transit and see if they can, repair.
Yeah, we definitely need them repaired, and I'll try to share them with whoever is in the township, and then see if we can reach out to them.
Because I actually already repaired the mural and repainted almost the whole mural a few years ago, and now it's back to the same old problem.
So thanks everyone. Good night, everyone. Bye. Signing out.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, April, Monica, and Victor.
And Linda.
Oh, Linda. Okay, I didn't see her name. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Right.
Bye.